Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I wanted to talk today about modifying daily drivers. I just kind of want to talk about some of the basic mods that people do or that I do and just what kind of value they add. Are they worth it? Are they worth the cost, the labor? What do you gain? What do you sacrifice? I just kind of wanted to touch on all that stuff. And I thought the best way to do it would be with a tier list like this, which I've made. And I'll leave a link in the description if you want to do it yourself. But yeah, I've kind of gathered a list of what I would do or consider doing to any daily driver. And then I've also gone through some forums and just added a few more things here and there. And yeah, so I'm just going to hop straight into it. Obviously, the first thing to note with any list about modifying or doing anything like this is its personal preference is a huge factor. And also, what do you want from the car? Always having your goal first is important for me. A daily driver is something that I could sit in for 5, 6, 7 hours on a road trip, have it be reliable, have it be comfortable, but have all the feature comforts that I would want in a car. Especially when you get an older car, some stuff becomes more important to add in yourself because it won't come from the factory. And maybe you have like a daily slash project, you just have one car. And so maybe you want some more sporty mods, some more, suspension tuned stuff that you might not consider if you just want comfort. And again, it depends on your situation, it depends on your preferences, it depends what you want out of the car. There's a ton of things to consider. So I'm going to kind of try and generally rank everything. We're going to go from S, which is like, you should just do this, no question, to D, which is, there's no point in doing this, don't do this. It's a waste of money. And I haven't really thought about any of these except for two or three. And so let me find the first one here. I think it is, all right, this one. Number one. This is just a general picture. It's maintenance and repairs. When you get a new car, figure out what's broken. Do you have blown struts? Do you have bad bushings? Do you have a misfire? Do you have anything like that? And whatever it is, figure out if it's important and fix it. You have a blown strut, fix that. You have a missing TPMS sensor, who cares? Maybe if you want to clear your dash light, go ahead. And then do your fluids, do your brake pads, check everything, transmission, differential, check everything. Do the maintenance. Yeah, it's a daily driver. You obviously want it to be reliable and you don't want it to leave you stranded. It's the most important thing. And then obviously just keep on top of maintenance once that's done. It is not really a modification, but I think it's more important than doing any modification, so it needs to go here. And the other one I want to do is tires, and this one here is snow tires. So this one's kind of dependent on if you need them or not. But tires are the best performance mod, better grip, better acceleration, better braking. You can get different kinds of tires. You can get tires that last longer. You can get tires that don't last as long, but they're stickier, more performance. You can get tires for, rain and snow. Where I live, it snows 4 or 5 days a year. I don't really need snow tires. I just need an all-weather tire, not an all-season, an all-weather tire with mud and snow rating. You can get tires that also make less road noise if you just want to remove all other sounds. They're just the best thing you can do to a car. I think they're an automatic S, and you're gonna have to do them eventually. The other thing that goes with, um, tires, rims, I'm gonna put this in an automatic. Now, you don't actually have to do this if the car already has nice rims, if the OEMs look good, whatever. You don't need new wheels, but if you want a different kind of wheel, there's no reason not to. If you're more performance oriented, you could get like a flow form or even a forged wheel. You get something lighter, you get something smaller for better gas mileage, something wider for better grip, because you'll have more contact patch. And you can just get something that you personally like the look of. I don't see any reason not to do it. And yeah, I think that's just a must. I've also got wheel spacers here. I don't know where to put these. On one hand, if you care about fitment, especially if you have like an OEM wheel, these can help fix that flush mount if you want that. If you get a lot of spacers, they can put stress on your suspension components. I know there's a bit of a debate on that, but it makes sense to me. Let me pull up a demonstration. Here's a picture of a car drivetrain, and we'll take the front for example, or the back for example. You have two wheels, you have hubs in here, and in between you have everything. Now, everything on the back half of the car, obviously, it depends on the weight distribution. That's not exactly true, but everything in the back half of the car is loaded on these 2 points. If you take these contact points and push them away from the car, your center of mass stays the same, and it creates this like a I forget the technical term, but it's like your center of gravity moves, and the farther away you are, the more gravity has an effect, the more pushing down, the more stress. And so what you get is like technically everything here should bow and should hang and below these points if it wasn't made of nice solid metal parts, right? So in my mind, it makes perfect sense that these would put stress. But I don't think there's like a huge drawback, and unless you're doing something crazy, I think they're fine. I wouldn't recommend them, but I wouldn't say don't do it. How about some bushings? I'm gonna put bushings in B. They're fine. A big part of bushings is maintenance. You have old bushings, rubber bushings usually last, I think it's 20 years. That's how long rubber usually lasts before it degrades. Obviously, it's going to be plus or minus depending on quality, manufacturer, brand, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what we're talking. We're talking about like firming up the bushings. If you have a car, you want it to be sportier, you want it to be like more responsive, you'll want better bushings. And I don't think you need to do all of them, just doing a few. So, for example, I have a Lexus IS, and that rear lower control arm bushing is huge, and it's a rubber fluid filled bushing, and it has a bit of slop to it, especially as it ages. And so, replacing just that one bushing with a polyurethane improves the handling and the response of the steering wheel in the car. So, I think in certain situations, adding a few poly bushings here and there is really good. I think a lot of the time it's not worth it unless you're just doing repairs. And it's a huge labor cost is the problem a lot of the time if you're not doing it yourself. And even if you are, sometimes you need special tools. That same bushing I was telling you about, I need a whole hydraulic press to get it out, or not a hydraulic press, but a shop press. It's a lot of work. I think they're a fine addition if done tastefully. And if you want sportier, then yeah, go all out. What's another common one here? Go for the cold air intake. I'm gonna put the cold air intake in C, and I have one, but unless you have a proper cold air intake system with some heat shielding and everything. These just suck in hot air. Hot air intakes is the term I think people go for. It just lowers your horsepower, it lowers your performance, but they sound cool, they look cool. I have one. I think there's if you like it to go ahead, but in terms of like actually like getting something out of it, they're not that worth it in a lot of scenarios unless you spend the money and get like a proper kit or something. Usually the factory airbox is just fine. You're basically doing it for sound. So I don't think they're that worth it, but you know, they're cool. I'll give you that much. What's another one I've got here? How about one that happens all the time? Coilovers. And to be honest, I'm gonna put coilovers in B. I think my issue with coilovers is a lot of times when people do them, they get it wrong. They go for firm, they go for stiff, they don't get dampers. And it just ruins the drivability of a car for like a daily perspective for me. In terms of like a track car, performance car, fun car, project car, yeah, number one. Anything else like daily driving, not for me. They make your ass hurt, make the ride rough. Now you can get really soft springs, and I think especially if you have like a really floaty car, then there's a reason to do this. There's a reason to get a bit of a firmer spring, a bit of like a firmness to the car. Obviously, it helps with like fitment and stuff, but that's not why you should be getting coilovers. I think they're a great mod. I just don't think they're a daily driver mod. And one thing I was seeing a lot is everyone was like coilovers, then tire or rims, then tires. That was the daily driver list. It's backwards. So I think there's a time and a place. I think a lot of people do it when they shouldn't, or when they do it, they go like drift specs 8K front spring rate, 6K in the back. No, that's like yeah, about 3 times stock for most cars. That's crazy. Your ride's gonna be harsh and rough, and you're not gonna be able to do a long trip. You have to stop and get out. I can't recommend them. in most cases, but older cars especially might be worth it. Maybe you're converting off of a leaf spring, right? Go ahead. The other one I have here, lowering springs. Honestly, I'm gonna put these in C. I almost want to put them in D. It's the same deal as coilovers, but you don't get the firmness. It just lowers the car. You get a tighter spring. There's a little less bounce, but without the shock, it's just like a shittier version of the coilover to me. Obviously, some cars don't have coils in the back. I get it. There's like it's not. I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm just saying if coilovers aren't great for a daily driver, then these definitely aren't good. That's again, that's more of a my personal preference thing. That's why they're not D. Another one that a lot of people skip. I'm gonna put this in S. It's interior LEDs. I have I work trades. I go to different job sites. My trunk's full of tools. I show up at 7 in the morning in the winter, 6 in the morning in the winter. I can't see anything in my trunk. I got the flashlight out, I got the headlamp out. Just putting an LED bulb in the trunk is huge. Putting an LED bulb in your dome light is huge. Just little things like that really help when you're living with the car day to day, especially if you have a lot of stuff in your car or you go out at night a lot. I think having you don't have to do all your LEDs, but just do some. I think it's a no-brainer. Like there's no reason not to. Another one that will do is a radio. Should this be an S? Should this be an automatic? No, I'm gonna put it A. I'm gonna put it A because a lot of cars come with a good enough radio, but some cars don't, especially older cars. And for me, the big one is just getting Bluetooth functionality. You can get a little AM/FM Bluetooth receiver, and that's good enough for a lot of people. Um, Maybe you have like an old tape deck, but you have a lot of CDs. You want to get a CD player, and you can also get stuff like CarPlay and Android Auto. Obviously, you get what you pay for. Don't get the cheapest Android Auto unit because it won't have enough RAM in it to actually run properly, unless you get like a mirroring unit. There's not really a reason not to do this, but you need the features in it. That's why it's not an S. Not every car needs it, especially the newer the car, the less likely you want to do a radio. Obviously, they enable stuff like sound systems, but I think it's just like there's no reason not to, and it's just the cost of it that really sets it back. Because again, you get what you pay for. You buy a cheap unit, it's gonna be kind of shitty. But if you only care about Bluetooth, maybe you just get a Bluetooth AM/FM receiver. You know, I don't think you have to do it, but you should do it if listening to music is something you care about. Next one is a sound system. I'm gonna put this in C. So this is like amplifier, speaker, sub. It's a lot of money and a lot of work. If you go to the pick and pull all the time or the pawn shops, you can get a lot of stuff, marketplace. You can get stuff cheap. Obviously, there's potentially a lot of wiring involved depending on what you're doing. And a lot of the time, you can get a radio. Again, you get a radio that you pay a little more. It'll pump. I have a radio in my car. It pumps 40 watts. That's better than stock. I don't need an amp. I don't need to run 75 watts to my speaker doors or my door speakers. I think if it's something you value, absolutely go for it. But I think in most cases, as long as you have something to listen to music, and again, you pay a little more, just get something that adds a little wattage. Maybe you replace like a blown speaker, right? Again, going back to that maintenance, maybe there's a blown speaker and you just upgrade that front door speaker. But I'm not going to say do a whole sound system. I think the cost and the labor, you're tearing your car apart in a lot of cases. It's not worth it for most people. Um, Another one that I saw a lot is cams. And I'm just gonna put and cranks, and I'm just gonna put straight in D. I think for daily drivers, engine modding is not something you should be doing. You basically, in my opinion, you want something that's reliable and not gonna leave you stranded. You start messing with stuff, you don't know what can of worms you're opening. I can see a reason to do it if you want like a sporty, fun daily driver, but at that point, it's not really a daily driver. It's a project car. It's a fun car. I just don't think these types of mods belong in daily drivers. I didn't even consider it ever until I was reading through the forums and people were doing, "Oh, get a hot racing cam, get a this cam, get a that cam," and it's like, okay, cool. You add some chop, certain cams, maybe you can improve your fuel mileage a little bit. Like it's not like there isn't a reason to do it in daily driver, but I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. if I was doing a daily. I'm doing a project, sure, but not a daily. Ooh, another good one. I'm gonna go with A tier, and that's window tint. There's no real downside to doing window tint unless you do illegal window tint. Check your state, your province, your country. In Canada, in BC, where I live, no front window tint on the windshield, no driver passenger window tint. But you can do the backs, you can do the rear view. I think you can do them all the way to like 5%. I could be wrong. But you can do them like crazy dark legally. You just can't do the fronts. And it's a good thing, especially if you live where it's hot, just blocks out some sun. You can even just get a UV film. You don't have to get one that actually darkens the windows. It'll protect your inside, your dash. If you can do a front, maybe you can do a front 30% window tint on your dash. I just wouldn't do anything that's illegal. And the reason I say that, not because like, oh, don't do illegal stuff, but like you will get harassed by the cops. This is the car that goes out in the street out every day, all damn day. This is the one you're taking to the store. This is the one you're driving everywhere. Just don't do something where you're going to get harassed, right? It's very simple. Like same thing. Like if you do an exhaust, don't exhaust. Do an exhaust. You do an exhaust. Don't do like the loudest thing you possibly can. You'll get pulled over eventually. And you'll get harassed, right? Just do something that blocks the heat, blocks the UV rays. You don't have to do it. That's why it's an A tier, but there's no reason not to do it. Next one, I'm gonna do. This is gonna be a pair. So we have the alarm, the aftermarket alarm system, and we have the kill switch. Now, I think I'm gonna put the kill switch in C. I want to put it higher. All you're doing is cutting your fuel pump relay and adding a brake in it, so you won't car won't crank over. If you're worried about people breaking into your car and stealing it, something like this, sure. But most car thieves are gonna know what they're doing. It's just if people are doing like snatch and grabs, they can't like take the car. If it's an older car, it might make more sense. What I've got in my car is not a kill switch, but I've got a marine circuit breaker for boats and stuff, and I put it on my battery when I relocated it to the trunk. And so whenever I'm going away or the car's not being run or I'm working on it, I just push a button, it disconnects the fuse. I just snap a little tab back in, the battery's reconnected. You can do something like that too. You don't need to do something like that, but just having this, it's not a bad idea. I just don't think it's necessarily worth. I just don't think it's necessarily worth the effort of putting one of these in, especially if you don't really know what you're doing with electrical. I just wouldn't touch it. The next one is the aftermarket alarm, and I think I might also put this in C. The reason I'm putting this in C isn't because it's any better or worse than the kill switch. I'm putting it in there because there's a lot that can go wrong. You know, obviously you want to get professional installation if you don't know what you're doing, and even then, over time, if something shorts, you're wiring into your ECU wiring harness a lot of the time. You're wiring into your starter. You can add stuff, sure, like remote start, which I can see an appeal for sure. I can see an advantage, especially if you live in a colder place. You want to preheat your car, just set your heater at night, and then when you go out in the morning, remote start the car from inside the house or something. Obviously, this adds other features too, like you can add an immobilizer. Actually, I'm gonna put this in B. You can add a mobilizer, GPS tracker. I'd say it's like a you should do it in an older car, especially if it's like some sort of car that is like desirable. But there is risk involved in it, especially getting a poor installation. Even if you go to a professional, like I said, doesn't mean it's gonna get done right. I've been rinsed at shops before, and I've gone to other shops where I got like the deal of a lifetime in terms of like the labor and the work done and the quality. I've gone to the shop for a couple things back in the day where I ended up just redoing it myself later on because it was shoddy and I paid money for it. So I would just be wary, but I think there's plenty of good reasons. You can also just get individual things instead of getting a whole alarm. You could just get a remote entry kit if you have power locks but don't have a key fob or something. That would be a great example. If you don't have power locks, maybe it's not worth it at all. But maybe you want to just put a GPS tracker if it gets stolen. But you could throw an AirTag on the bottom, right? Oh, here's one I missed: sound deadening. I'm gonna put this in C2, right next to the sound system. Sound deadening is something you do when you do a sound system. Usually, it can help with road noise in general. Obviously, if you want a sporty car, it adds weight to the car. A lot of people will actually remove it. but you're pulling out your whole interior, you're laying it down. If you have the car apart already and you just want to remove some road noise or improve sound quality, yeah, I don't see a disadvantage, just cost, but it's a lot of time, a lot of labor, and you just don't really need it unless you're like doing the fine details, in my opinion. All right, and next is sway bar. I know this picture's kind of hard to see. I do sway bars before I do coilovers every day of the week. Reduces roll in the car. You know, that's all it does. You get it for 150 bucks. You can get adjustable positions. So say it's a little too firm, just dial it back. Say it's still a little soft for your liking, dial it up. I just two bolts, move the sway bar, put them back in. Job done. Very easy. They're a great performance mod. If you've ever done sway bars, you'll know what I mean. Like you just for the price, especially, you can't beat it. It's got to be one of the best handling mods you can do for the price. Another one we've got here, an exhaust system. I'm gonna put this in B. It can be a little expensive to do, but unlike something like the cold air, it does just add a little performance. It might only be a couple horsepower. As long as it's bigger than your stock, it should, in theory, free up some breathing room. Obviously, you'll still have choke points somewhere in the headers or the dump pipe, or in the engine or in the cold air system before it reaches the hot side. But it'll add a lot to the car if you want some noise. Obviously, you can get an exhaust that's drony, you can get an exhaust that's loud. For me, for a daily driver, that's not what you want. But you can just get like a little axle back, and it'll just like change the note of the exhaust or give it a little rumble. Well, it won't give you rumble, that's headers, but it's just something that's good, you know? It'll cost a lot of money. If it's something you want, great. If it's something you don't want, don't do it. Very simple. Next is steering wheel. I'm between B and C. We'll go C for now. Main reason is you're removing an airbag a lot of the time. If you have a car that doesn't have an airbag, who cares? If you have a car that has an airbag, A, removing it's illegal. You're not likely to get harassed on it, but it does remove safety features. If you're removing a steering wheel, you want to have a harness with a harness bar. Very important. If you get a harness, no harness bar, you're actually probably more likely to get hurt or, unalived than just using a seatbelt. Um, yeah, removing a steering wheel is not usually a good idea if you have an airbag. I have one in one of my cars, and that's just because my knees, when I come off the clutch, if the car's in fifth, I'll actually smack the car to fifth. I can't physically get off the clutch pedal. That's a right-hand drive car. If you're wondering why I'm smacking it out of gear, but I needed a steering wheel that was a little smaller, and then I needed to pull the steering wheel a little closer to me. It's one of those things where I couldn't drive the car without it. I can see that appeal. If your steering wheel's old and ratty, I can see the appeal. You can get very expensive, usually chassis specific ones that retain the airbag, but at that point, the cost, I don't think it's necessarily worth it. But it is the inside of the car. I think it's the most important part of the car. So if it's something that makes you happy, great, but I just wouldn't recommend doing it in general. Another one, the shift knob. I'm gonna put this is an A tier mod. There's no real advantage to doing it necessarily unless you change. Say you have like a metal shift knob or something. Changing to something like a Duracon shift knob where it's gonna absorb less heat and less cold and be easier to touch in like the summer and the winter. That could be an advantage. Otherwise, it's just a personalization thing, which is fine. If you want to do it, great. If not, don't. It's a very whatever thing. I've also put phone holders. This is another A tier thing, especially if you don't have like a Bluetooth, or not a Bluetooth, but like a screen display radio. Having a little like vent clip phone mounts, you can have Google Maps or Apple Maps or something. It's just a nice thing to have. You don't need it, but I've got mats. I'm gonna put this in B. This specific one is an all-weather mat. If you live where it's raining, maybe you want to protect your floors. Maybe your carpet's starting to wear out. Replacing them's good, but a lot of cars just. Sorry, I got distracted. I don't know where I was. Um, yeah, floor mats. If yours are wearing out, they have holes. I'd replace them. That's kind of a maintenance thing. There's not really a disadvantage, but a lot of the times you just don't need it. So it's a very whatever thing. Interior. This is a dash cam. I'm gonna put this in A. This is something where I'd put it in S if it wasn't for the cost. You get what you pay for. I bought a dash cam back in the day, paid like 70 bucks, and it would only record 15 seconds before you pressed the button to record and save an image. So you spend 5 or 10 seconds going, oh shit, what the fuck was that? You forget you push the button. Well, you missed your crash, your accident, or whatever. So you get what you pay for. I have a really good one now that I've done a bunch of research on. I'll leave a link in the description if you want it. It's like 200 bucks, has front and back, all that stuff. But they can save your ass. Last week, I had 4 people run red lights on me. One of them almost drove into me head on. Having a dash cam, it'll save your ass. You don't need to use it 99% of the time, but when you need it, you need it. So again, it's that cost. A lot of people are gonna, not value the cost for what you get out of it, and that's fine. You don't have to add one, but if you do, you're not losing anything. Next is radar detector. This I'm gonna put as a I'm between B and C. I'll leave it as B for now. The main reason is if you're doing stuff where you need a radar detector, sorry, but maybe just be a little smarter. Don't be bombing down the roads when there's pedestrians. Don't be bombing down the roads in traffic. Don't be bombing down a school zone. Go to the back roads, bomb it out, fucking wrap your speedo back to zero. We've all done it. Do it when it's safe. And safe in as in like if I hurt myself, that's on me. But if I hurt someone else, that's also on me. You know? You're like as likely to get tickets when there's no one around, the cops aren't gonna be around. And also these things go off for like automatic doors on grocery stores. You have to tune them, you get what you pay for. You're also paying like 700, 800 bucks. Like I just for the cost and what you're getting, and especially the fact that you shouldn't need one if you're just, wise about when you do dumb shit. I can't. I'm convinced myself this is C. You really don't need one of these, especially for the cost. If they were cheap and actually good as cheap, sure, but they're not. I just can't justify something like that, to be honest. Next one's a short shifter. I don't know. I'm gonna put this in B. It's like if you like that kind of more notchier feel, great. Do you need one? No. Are they cheap? Eh, depends on the car, I think. And do they add a lot of performance? You might get a slightly faster shift. In terms of daily driving, I just don't see the advantage. It's a personal preference. Like it's an I want it thing, much like the pod filter or coilovers or springs or steering wheels. Like it's just an I want it thing. It doesn't really improve the car in a way that's just generally good. They're fine. They're fine. Next up, bucket seats. These are an instant D for me. They are one of the best performance mods in terms of handling, driving, driver position. They let you really drive the car to its limits. Daily driving, they're not worth it at all. If you have a shit blown out seat, maybe, but I'd just get like a replacement, like a nice replacement seat, like a bucket, a racing seat. They're usually tighter on the shoulders. You can't always turn your head as much if you get ones with those side bolsters that hold your head in place. They're usually thinner, hard on the ass. A lot of the time you buy a cheap one too, they're not actually structurally sound. They're not rigid. They're not rated for tracks. You're gonna get more hurt in an accident than a stock seat if you get like a cheap, replica type just for the look seat. Like again, one of the best performance mods, Daily Driver. It's probably the worst thing you can do to the car. I have one in one of my cars. I can do maybe an hour and a half of city driving before my ass hurts and I just have to get out of the car. Now I'm a bigger guy. I'm not fat, but I'm just bigger. So that's, you know, part of the effect of it. I got a wider hip and a wider shoulder. So, I'm snugged in there a lot, but even for other people who've driven my car, it's just after a while you just get sick of it. I can't recommend this for a daily. Project car, yeah. Daily, no. I think that's it for interior stuff, technically. I have this here. This is a very niche thing that I'm gonna put in B tier. This is an AC system. This is for older cars that don't have AC. Especially if you live where it's hot, this is like a no-brainer. It's a pretty big cost, but what you get is huge. Most cars don't need this, so Not much to talk about. Just if your car doesn't have climate control, adding one in, it's a huge, huge thing. And this one too. This is power steering, especially older cars. Adding power steering is great. Project car, track car. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you've actually pulled it out. Same with the AC. But in terms of like driving slowly through parking lots, you'll want power steering. Driving in the hot summer, especially in traffic where you can't get any wind in your face, you need AC. These 2 are just like, if you don't have it, you should add it. Most cars should have it. Here's another one. I'm gonna put this in C. This is a disc brake conversion. So if you have drums, especially if you have drums on the front, like a really old car, maybe you wanna look at adding some disc brakes. They're easier to service. If you do more spirited kind of driving, more twisty, more back road, they can dissipate more heat. It's not the cheapest thing to do, but a lot of the time you can find cars that have like as a premium option, you can get disc brakes. So there's like a direct bolt-on kit, or you can find cars where like maybe this like Mazda Speed 3 has brakes that you can bolt directly onto your car. Obviously, there'll always be a little bit of modification, but it's something that if you don't have it, there's not a disadvantage to adding it, but in a lot of cases on a daily driver, you probably don't actually need it. I have a couple of the brake things here. Number one, brake lines. These are braided brakes. I'm gonna put them in C tier, to be honest. I have braided brake lines. It was one of the first things I did to one of my cars. Um, I didn't feel much of a difference, to be honest. I felt more of a difference just when I initially swapped the clean brake fluid, when I had put new pads, new rotors. I even put a little brake booster stopper on the car just because the firewall was flexing. I felt a huge difference in all that. With the braided lines, I didn't feel much. There was a notable improvement, but not a lot. And the cost involved, it's usually 150 bucks. I've seen them as cheap as 100. I don't know about the quality of that stuff, but I just, it wasn't really worth it to me in my experience anyways. Obviously, some cars it might actually be really worth it, but in all of my experience, it's just not it's kind of like a waste of money, you're just pissing it down the drain. If you're looking for that little tiny bit of improvement on your brakes, this could be how you get it, but otherwise, you're better off just buying some higher quality pads, a nice brake fluid. Yeah, that's all you really need. I have this here. This is a brake caliper paint. I'm gonna put this in A. There's not really a disadvantage other than time and $30 of high heat spray paint. 15 for a color, 15 for a clear. You could do a high heat primer. You could get a high temperature sticker. Just make sure if you do paint the caliper, put the sticker on, then do the clear coat, trap the sticker in. It's one of these things that improves the cosmetics, and there's no disadvantage. It's not super cost inducive. You need a couple garbage bags and some tape. Just unbolt the wheel, unbolt the caliper, take the rotor out, rebolt the caliper, tape around it with the bags, and then you can just spray it on the car. Just make sure you tape your pistons and stuff and your bleeder. It's really easy to do. No disadvantage. It can make a car look a lot better, especially if you have old rusty brakes. Even just painting the black or something. It's just nice. It makes the car nice. What else do I have? I have these. These are roof racks. I'm gonna put these in C tier. Most people don't need them. Some people do them as a style thing. Um, you could also do like a tow hitch. If you're doing bikes, for example, you could do a tow hitch and do a bike rack there. You could do a bike rack on the roof. The reason I put them on the list at all is because, like me, I don't have a truck, and on occasion I need to carry like some bigger stuff. I've had to move some chairs that were too big to go in the car. I've had to move a deep freezer. Pick up some lumber and whatnot from the hardware store from Home Depot. They're useful to have. Sometimes they can be a bit costly. Sometimes you can get them very cheap. I'm gonna put them in B. There's not really a disadvantage to having them if you need them, but in a lot of cases you don't need them. They're fine. Last big one here, oil catch can. And you might be thinking, oh, that's for like performance, you're pushing the car to the limits. And yes, and if you're just driving your daily driver all out, that's something you might be doing. But especially if you have an induction car like a small turbo like GTI, I know Focus ST, that's a big one. Or just like any turbo car, Ford F-150. You can remove some carbon buildup just by trapping the excess oil instead of burning it off in the engine. I think in a lot of cases, there's not going to be a huge advantage to adding the catch can. But that being said, if you're going to drive the car into the ground, getting on this earlier in the car's life could give you that extra 10, 20, 30,000 kilometers or miles down the road. Especially if your car's a no buildup issue for carbon, like I said, or if you have a turbo, especially, or I think supercharger as well, procharger for sure, but I think supercharger, any of them, there's going to be a little extra oil getting blasted into your engine periodically, especially when you kind of push it to the limit. There's not a huge advantage, but in terms of lifespan of the car, depending on the car, the vehicle, I think it could be worth it. I don't have any science to back any of this, but it makes sense to me. So that's just kind of like a, if you want it, you could type of deal. I have a couple more here. Body kits, aftermarket headlights. How to put this in C? The cost to do this kind of stuff is always high, unless you're getting really cheap, especially with headlights and taillights, really cheap eBay stuff, China stuff. It's always more of a headache than it's worth. The lights aren't as good, but they might, maybe they're sequential or LED or whatever, but they're not worth it. It's like a personal thing, much like the steering wheel, much like the sound systems. Like if you want it, if you care about it, great. The cost is probably not worth it. The labor is probably not worth it for you to actually gain anything. It's whatever, who cares? It's for you. It's not for anybody else, right? A tune. Now, originally I was going to put this down in D, but I'm going to put it in C because you can get more fuel efficient tunes than factory. Don't believe me? Look up Project Farm. I think in general, if you're adding a tune to like squeeze a little power, got a stock car with a stage one tune, blah blah blah. What you're saying is you've shortened the lifespan of your car. You want a daily driver that's a little zippy, a little tune. Sure, I get it. You want to add a little gurgle because you like that. I hate that, but you like that. Sure, but it's just not adding a lot. It's just shortening the lifespan of your engine. Let's be honest. People do it a lot. That's why it's here. I would never think about it in a million years unless I was really trying to maximize that fuel economy. Go get a fuel mileage tune. And the last one is stickers. Obviously, an S tier. That's how you show people who you are, how cool you are. Uh, no, stickers don't do anything, but there's no real disadvantage. You put them on the paint, you let them sit, they'll take your paint off, you know, whatever. But they're cool. They add a little personal flair. You can use them to hide paint imperfections. You can use them to just support something or somebody. They're fine. Everyone does stickers. Not even a mod. It's just like I just thought I'd put it on there for fun. And also, collect your car feed. If you see this feed, please bring back the Touch of the Nism sticker. I want one so bad. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Alrighty, I think that's everything for the list. Is there anything I'd move? No, I don't think so. I'm happy with this. That's kind of my list, my thoughts, my opinions on all the daily driver mods. Like I said, there'll be a link to this tier list in the description if you want to do it. Yeah, thank you for watching. Have a good one.